Have you ever had that feeling where, well, what you think you're feeling isn't quite what's really going on underneath? Appearances can be deceiving.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially when strong emotions are involved.
Exactly. And we've got this really fascinating text to dive into today. It's originally in Sinhala, and it explores this very phenomenon, but in a very specific context.
Right, looking at attraction towards religious figures.
Yeah. Our mission today is basically to unpack its insights, see what it tells us about how emotions might get misinterpreted sometimes.
It zeroes in on these situations, particularly involving women and monks, where feelings that seem like deep religious devotion, Shraddha, as the text calls it, might actually stem from something else entirely.
So it's tackling this potential for, like, emotional confusion head on.
It really is. The text describes how some individuals, women in particular it notes, can develop these, well, quite powerful feelings towards certain younger monks.
And that's where the twist comes in, right? These feelings feel like Shraddha, like genuine faith.
Exactly. But the text argues that maybe, just maybe, the root cause is something else. It points to the attractive qualities of some of these monks. Perhaps their appearance, maybe the sound of their voice.
Things that can trigger a more, shall we say, basic human response.
Precisely. And that response, which the text labels raga, roughly desire or, lust, gets mistaken for spiritual devotion. It's sensory attraction being interpreted as something, well, holier.
And a really crucial part of this, according to the text, is the lack of self-awareness.
Yes, that's key. The women feeling these intense emotions aren't, like, consciously faking it. They genuinely believe it's piety.
They really think this is faith.
They do. It's almost like their minds automatically frame it that way, a kind of unconscious self-deception, maybe.
Which then leads to certain actions. Yeah, the text talks about specific behaviors emerging from this.
It does. You see women who maybe didn't pay much attention to monks before suddenly seeking out these particular monks very frequently.
Right, showering them with praise, perhaps singling them out. Yeah,
Right.
as being exceptionally virtuous, sometimes even criticizing other monks by comparison. It's a very focused kind of attention.
Driven by this feeling they haven't quite identified correctly.
Exactly. And if you look at it psychologically, it makes sense, right? A strong, unacknowledged, emotion-shaping behavior, judgment, everything. It's all directed towards that specific individual.
And it's not just the person experiencing it who misreads the situation. The text mentions families, too.
Good point. Yeah, it notes that often the families, maybe the community around them, also interpret these actions as just, deep religious feeling.
So everyone's kind of reinforcing this particular interpretation.
That social validation is huge, isn't it? Makes it incredibly hard to see things differently, even if, say, someone wiser tries to suggest another possibility.
Ah, okay. So what happens then if someone does try to point it out?
Well, the text observes that if someone, maybe someone more discerning, tries to gently explain, hey, maybe this isn't just devotion, they often face resistance.
Resistance, like pushback. Yeah. Pushback, defensiveness, sometimes even accusations like, oh, you're just jealous.
Wow, so people get really attached to their interpretation of their own strong feeling.
Very attached. Challenging that interpretation can feel like you're challenging the feeling itself, which is, uncomfortable. So they resist.
So pulling it all together, what's the kind of main thrust here, the big takeaway from the text?
Well, the text sort of concludes that these examples are vivid illustrations of how powerful our own emotional blind spots can be. This idea of kleshavanshanaya, being deceived by our own defilements or emotions.
Right, how our feelings can sort of play tricks on us without us even realizing.
Exactly. So this deep dive, it really gives us a compelling window into how attraction can wear some unexpected disguises, like religious devotion in this case.
It certainly highlights that very human potential for, well, self-deception when feelings run high.
It does indeed.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? You start wondering, okay, where else in life might seemingly positive or straightforward feelings be masking something a bit deeper or different? Maybe some other underlying desires or motivations we haven't quite acknowledged.
That's a great question to ponder. Definitely food for thought.